First, though, our top story this half an hour, doubling down. President Trump standing by his criticism of the late Senator John McCain. In my exclusive interview yesterday with the president, I asked him about it. You spent a good portion of your time in Ohio the other day trashing John McCain. Senator John McCain is dead. Why are you doing this?
So it's not a good portion of my time. It's a very small portion. But if you realize about 3 days ago it came out that his main person gave to the FBI the fake news dossier. It was a fake. It was a fraud. It was paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. They gave it to John McCain, who gave it to the FBI for very evil purposes. That's not good. And the other thing, he voted against repeal and replace. Now, he's been campaigning for years for repeal and replace. I'm not a fan. After all of this time, he's think of this. Repeal and replace. We would have had great health care.
But, Mr. President, he's dead. He can't punch back. I know you punch back,
no,
but he's dead.
I don't talk about it. People ask me the question. I didn't bring this up. You just brought it up. You asked the question.
Well, you talked about it this week.
You asked me the question. When I went out yesterday to the scrum, they asked me the question. When they asked me the question, I answered the question. But you people bring it up. I don't bring it up. I'm not a fan. He was horrible what he did with repeal and replace. It was what he did to the Republican Party and to the nation and to sick people that could have had great health care was not good. So I'm not a fan of John McCain, and that's fine.
Joining us right now is former White House Communications Director, SkyBridge Capital founder, Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony, it is good to see you this morning.
Hey, Maria, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. You know, this dossier keeps coming up, and that's one of the reasons for the president's upset with the late John McCain, obviously. Do you think we're going to see any accountability with all of this?
Accountability as it relates to the dossier or what the president's doing in terms of...
accountability with the fact that the dossier was given to the FBI and they had flimsy evidence to actually wiretap an American citizen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the point. I think that's the reason why the president is so upset, and I think people get his point and they understand the grievance that he has. I just don't think he's scoring a lot of points, Maria, by continuing to bring it up as it relates to somebody that passed away 7 months ago. But yes, the president's going to be exonerated on that. I think there was a level of unfairness that went on during the campaign and right after the campaign. And if you look at the timeline on the John McCain stuff, it looks like he gave that information after the election results. So I don't think it happened before. But in any event, I understand the president's grievance, but I really wish he would stop hitting at John McCain, because we've got to win white women voters. We've got suburban housewives that don't like it. We're trying to teach our kids about anti-bullying, and the guy's dead, and he should stop hitting him. And so he can disagree with me and other people about it, but that's fine. You know, I say it because I'm very loyal to the president, and I want to see the guy win re-election. So I don't see how this is helping him.
You know, you make a good point, and that is women, Matt Schlapp. You know, he had a problem with some suburban women coming to the polls and voting for him during the midterm elections. Can he get them back? What does he need to do to win his re-election?
Republicans have had a gender gap with women since the 1980s. Remember, it works the opposite with men. Democrats have a gender gap with men. The main reason Republicans actually do better with women is when you talk about the economy and their family having more economic choices. But the second issue is security. The idea that a president stands up for our security. So this is where the questions about the border and illegal immigration and the question about terrorism, women care about those issues. They care about their homes being secure, and that's a strength for Republicans.
You know, and then the other issue, obviously, is economic security and the economy. And I think as long as we have an unemployment rate, you know, at or below 4%, he's in pretty strong shape going into 2020, despite a lot of these other problems that people have.
Yeah, isn't that the point, Anthony? I mean, we're talking about 3.1% year-over-year economic growth, jobs at record numbers, unemployment record lows. Is that going to be enough to really fuel his re-election in 2020?
I do. I think that could be a 400 electoral college vote landslide for the president, because it's very hard to unseat a sitting president in a rising economy like that. He's done a phenomenal job on the economy. He's done a phenomenal job as it relates to securing peace for Israel. He's done a phenomenal job as it relates to the potential denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And so I would just like him to stay on those messages. It's resonating with the American people. I would also say that there's a reverse Bradley effect that happens with the president. A lot of people don't say that they vote for him, and then they'll tell you quietly that they're voting for him. And so he's got all of those things going in his direction. And so therefore, I would just say let's not have any unforced errors. I think he's going to be a formidable adversary to any Democrat that gets the nomination leading into the election. So that's my piece. I'm just happy to tell you what I really think, Maria, because I want to see the guy succeed, and I want to see the guy win 2020.
Yeah.
Anthony, you say he's doing a fabulous job with the economy. We had a very strong year last year, but in part because of what's going on with trade, it looks like the whole world is slowing down and the U.S. is catching some of that bug. Is that a problem? Does the president need to pivot on trade, especially going into the election year, and resolve some of these conflicts that we've got?
Well, you're bringing up a good point. It has taken longer to get some of these trade deals done than I think people had expected. I think the market was sort of signaling a March 1st deal as it related to China. John, if that deal happens before the end of the second quarter, I still think we're okay. At the end of the day, if you think about the industrial investment that's happening in the United States and some of the return of some of these manufacturing jobs, that's a very big bright spot for the president, and it can be attributed to the president's tax and economic policies. So, yes, there's a little bit of a slowdown. He made the point to Maria that if they didn't raise rates on him, he probably could have gotten a higher GDP. But there is some concern, and you know this because you've covered the Fed for a very long time. Jerome Powell's a little bit in a box because they're borrowing $1 trillion a year. He certainly doesn't want to touch off a dollar crisis. But if you look at the entire landscape of stuff, you can still see a 2.5%, 3% growth over the next 12 months. That is very, very good for the president, and it puts him in a good position. The last point I just want to make is wages are up for the bottom 10 to 20% of the employment scale, and that's really the first time in about 15 years, John. So all of those things are super positive. I was with Jamie Dimon at the Yale CEO forum earlier in the week in D.C. He was talking about how hard it is to hire people.
Yeah, no, you're right. Wages up 3.1% or so in the last reading. Hey, how about this other feud this week, Anthony? President Trump versus George Conway. I spoke with the counsel to the president, Kellyanne Conway, yesterday about really being in the middle of this, her boss and her husband. Watch this.
I'm not being asked to choose between my marriage and my job. Donald Trump has never made, the president has never made me feel that way, Maria. I know George is quoted recently as saying, I wish he didn't work there.
So does he want you to step down, George? Does George say? Yeah.
Certainly. Well, my husband also has been very critical of the president publicly, which is unlike him, just because he's traditionally been a very private person.
It really is bizarre, Anthony, the way George Conway tweets about the president, knowing that his wife has this enormous job.
Listen, I think, listen, Maria, I almost got divorced during my White House fiasco, so it's hard for me to comment on other people's marriages. But here's what I would say to you about this situation. You know, and I would say this to the president. You know, this family, the Conway family, has sacrificed an enormous amount for President Trump and for the administration. And I would just let that thing go because they've got 4 beautiful kids. And, you know, you don't want to be the wedge that drives those 2 people apart, God forbid. So that's my piece. Focus on the 4 kids. Let's all move on. We got a lot of great things going on in the country as a result of President Trump. If you need therapy, you can always listen to Mooch and the Misses on Tuesdays, where my wife takes a cheese grater to my forehead for about 35 minutes, Maria. It's a lot cheaper than therapy.